this episode of Women Connected, we're talking about how to regain our curiosity to help us overcome fear and show technology who's boss.
This is the Women Connected podcast, where we believe that women can improve their personal and professional lives through technology. If you're ready to cut through the noise and learn exactly the tools you need to create your professional brand, be recognized, and keep up in today's fast-paced world, then stay tuned.
I'm your host, Lisa Goodgame, Program Director at TBW, where we believe that women can improve their personal and professional lives through technology. Don't forget to check our website for the show notes for all of our podcast episodes. Just go to tbwconnect.com. If you're enjoying this podcast series, please take a moment and rate and review the podcast. We appreciate your support. If you want more great content from TBW, you can like our Facebook page and follow us on. But even better, you can join TBW for just $52 a year and get access to members-only resources and events. Visit tbwconnect.com/join for more information. Today I'm talking with Sheila Scarborough, a writer and speaker specializing in tourism, travel, and social media. She's written for many blogs and print publications and is also a certified Navy Master Training Specialist with years of experience as an instructor. Winner of the Austin American-Statesman Texas Social Media Award and an Association for Women in Communications Clarion Award, Sheila trains and speaks regularly about social media to a variety of audiences. Sheila, welcome to Women Connected. It's so wonderful to have you talking with me today about all sorts of things related to women and technology and kind of getting over the fear of trying something new.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great to be here today. Thanks for having me.
So we have talked a little bit in our preparation for this interview about some of the challenges that women, I think especially, kind of find themselves dealing with technology, especially as we get older and maybe aren't on the cutting edge of what's happening either with workplace resources or technology, just that kind of makes our lives easier. And I know that you have some really strong opinions about what we need to do to be successful in that regard.
Yeah, your listeners are now entering the no wimpy women zone. Okay, so I don't want to see all the hand waving and helpless fluttering, any of that. This is the no wimp zone. It bothers me. It bothers me really to no end to see otherwise very intelligent women suddenly just turn into a pile of jelly when it comes to technology that's so critical for successfully navigating so much of what we do today. And I was just reading in the print newspaper because I'm 52, so I sort of straddle both worlds, but reading in the print newspaper recently about how frustrating it is for older people to find jobs and the stereotypes that they battle, that they don't have enthusiasm, that they don't have energy, that they are technologically slow, and that they can't work well with younger people. And, you're going to have to take good care of yourself, take your vitamins and exercise. I mean, I can't help you with the energy and enthusiasm. But the being slow with technology, to me, that is just a challenge to me that I see no reason that other people are going to accept that other generations consider you a box of rocks because you're older. Think back to how you were when you were 20 years old. Do you really want to be that fuddy-duddy old person who throws up their hands and says, I can't handle it? It's 2014. Let's go. You don't need to have such a lack of confidence, but there are just a couple of things that I think maybe stand in people's way with regard to that. And there is some tips and techniques and things that we'll talk to, but overall, I think the most important thing for anyone, no matter what their age is, the most important characteristic to have with regard to technology is a sense of curiosity. And a sense of wonder and a sense of, what is this? What can this do for me? What can this help me with? What information can I find? How can I know more about this? And that sense of curiosity knows no age limits. My father's 82, and he is incessantly curious about how things work, and he experiments and pokes and prods and says, I wonder what's going to happen if I do this. And usually whatever it is never as bad as you think. But his answer, he loves the fact that in conversation, something will come up. We were just talking about, I can't pronounce it, but it's peritonitis, the thing that happens when you get appendicitis and things blow up. You know? And he and I both looked at each other, and he points at me and he says, Google it. And I whip my phone out and I start typing in. We just want to know things. And he's 82. He does not, that sense of curiosity helps him overcome any concerns or fears that he may have with regard to technology. And I would just hope that other people, if they've lost that sense of curiosity, go find it and bring it back up to the forefront, because that's what's going to get you through some of the frustrations of trying to bend technology to your will.
I think that is a really great insight because there's so many answers to the questions that we have. And I find, your dad is awesome in his command of the Google, as our parents tend to say. But my dad is a little bit the opposite. And my dad will typically send me emails and ask me if something is true or can I please look that up for him. And it's really, really hard every time not to send him back a let me Google that for you link. Because I know he knows how to use it.
Right. Less, really.
Right. So on this topic of, curiosity and kind of bringing that back to the forefront, I think one of the things that gets in the way for a lot of people, not just women and not just dads, is fear that they are going to somehow break something, lose some data, delete the important email. And I was wondering if you could kind of speak to some of the, ways that we can overcome those fears, ways that we can be, more confident going into learning how to use Gmail, for example, just at the very basic.
Yeah, I think the first thing you've got to remember, and really the only thing you have to remember other than, be curious, is show technology who is boss. Who created the box and who can turn the box off. And you are not stupid. The computer is not cooperating. Okay. And yes, there are times where maybe you've done something dumb and okay, you're going to have to just say, well, I messed that up and move on. But you need to remember that it is the computer, at least where they are now in 2014, who is the inanimate object, not you. And so often, you talk to somebody who is technologically savvy, let's say, and you're asking, well, I need to do this and it's frozen up. It won't do this and do that. How many times has the technology person said, well, turn it off and turn it back on?
Right.
Yeah, it's like, well, why does that work? And really, they can never tell you. They don't know. The trons just rearrange themselves. And once I kind of figured that out, that the answer to everything is, well, I'm just going to unplug you, sucker, and we'll see how you like that. And invariably, I don't know what it does, but sometimes it sorts things out. Remember who is boss of the box and do not let it intimidate you. Sometimes just you're going to need a restart, just like your body and your brain need a restart. But the other thing to remember is that there are a lot of things built into the technology to enable it to be easier for you. It has to, meet standards in many cases for people who have disabilities to be able to access it. There are accessibility settings, in computers that help you see things better, hear things better, navigate things better. And a lot of people don't even do that. They don't even, for example, go and click the setting to increase the font size on the monitor so they can see the words more easily. Or turn the sound up, increase the volume, bend the technology, make the equipment or the program fit your needs. You're the boss, and spend a little bit of time in that settings, which is invariably behind, something that looks like a little mechanical wheel. Yes, there are a lot of options here. Yes, that can be overwhelming, but just start with one thing, learn how to zoom in on something, learn how to blow up what you're seeing on the computer so that it's larger. So maybe you don't even have to be fuddling around with reading glasses on the computer. And I know that's a hassle. I mean, again, I'm 52. I wear bifocal contacts. And, I have to fiddle around to get things to be the way that I need them to be. Personalize the computer, personalize the technology to get it the way that you want it so that you can best use it and enjoy it.
I think a lot of people don't even realize that those options are out there to just increase the size of a web page so that you can read the really teeny tiny text a little more easily. Or like you're talking about the accessibility settings. I had eye surgery a few years ago, and even though I wasn't in pain the day or two after the surgery, my vision was really blurry. And I was having quite a hard time reading stuff, just, the usual Outlook-sized font and what have you. I didn't have reading glasses. And I kind of seized on that idea of there has to be a way to make this bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And found that accessibility setting that's in there. And there are some really great options in there, not just to make the screen size bigger, but even to change the color, for example, which can be really effective for people who have, other vision problems or things like that. There's a lot of great stuff in there. And you can't break the computer by changing it.
It's people are very itchy about messing with the computer, but they don't have that fear of going out. I'm afraid to do anything with the car because I might break it. You have a level of confidence with an automobile because you have dealt with an automobile over the years. You fiddled with it and twiddled with it. You have driven it in different conditions. You know where the buttons and knobs are. You need to take that same kind of level of confidence maybe that you have with your car, which is just loaded with technology. You are driving a technological marvel and have been for years. And then you turn around and say, well, I'm not a techie. I'm like, well, yeah, you can figure it. You figured out how to set the air conditioning exactly the way you want it in your car. You need to have that same level of confidence with your computers and your technology. And you're starting to find too with smartphones that my mom and I were talking about phones the other day, and she says, I cannot believe how much those things cost for a phone. And I said, Mom, it's not a phone. It is a small miniature computer. It is the internet that you are carrying around in your purse or pocket. And boy, you want to talk about, settings being just buried in that thing. And again, I'm 52. It's embarrassing to be squinting at that thing. And I've had to learn to adjust the settings so that I can comfortably see things without having to muddle around and wear multiple pairs of glasses on my head. But I have to remember, if this isn't working for me, don't meekly default to the default setting. Go in there and smack it around.
I love that. Go in there and smack it around.
All right.
Yeah. And again, you can't really break anything. I think the biggest fear probably that a lot of us have is that somehow we're going to lose data. And I think that is a real fear. For example, if you delete an email, thinking about, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to get that back? And, you accidentally deleted the one with the final version of the presentation or what have you. And, fortunately, there is a trash folder, or a deleted folder in just about everything that we do. So nothing really, really goes away, until you permanently delete or you permanently empty the trash. And so I think that's a fear that a lot of us just, kind of need to get over. If something disappears, chances are it's really still there.
Yeah.
Unless your computer has crashed or, had some kind of a catastrophic event. And I think that kind of comes, to this topic that you and I were talking about earlier, which is this idea that we have to stop underestimating ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That, we have the knowledge, we have the basic skills, and we just need to kind of amass the confidence to, to go forth and do.
Yeah. And again, I think sometimes it is a personality sort of thing, but I've always been the one that stuck her hand up in the air in class and said, I'm not following you. And then invariably people come up to me after class and say, I didn't get it either, but I didn't want to look stupid. And I thought, well, so you're willing to be stupid, by avoiding looking stupid, you're willing to be stupid. You're willing to go without the knowledge that you need. And people ask me, how do you know this stuff? I said, well, because I've been willing to ask questions and to look dumb until I not worry about what everybody else is thinking, but get the information that I need, make sure that I understand it, and not make the assumption when something comes up that isn't clear to me is that, well, I must be thick-witted because I don't understand this and everybody else seems to. I don't care what everybody else does. As a speaker and as a trainer myself, I know that it is my responsibility to reach everyone in the room. And if someone's not getting it, it's my responsibility to attempt to explain it in a different way. Or, maybe they are more of an experiential, hands-on learner than someone who just sits there and looks at lots of text. So, you're going to you're not going to learn things unless you're willing to get out there and ask questions and be curious again. But then all of a sudden you become, the font of wisdom because you've been the one who's been willing to get out there and ask those questions. So it's a virtuous circle.
It is. I think that's a great point. So shifting gears a little bit, what are some of the most important everyday technology that as women we really need to embrace and be familiar with and have facility with to be successful in today's workplace, in today's economy?
Yeah, I think, and again, this is speaking as a liberal arts major, you need to have a sense of how mechanical things work. And I think that's one reason I'm very confident with technology is that I worked with a lot of, I was a main propulsion assistant, an electrical officer, and a chief engineer on a ship, again, as a liberal arts major, but the Navy sent me to school to learn what I needed to know. And so I don't call myself any sort of mechanical whiz, but I like to know the basics of how something operates. And this, I think, maybe comes back to perhaps women who tend to be intimidated at the auto repair place. And I'm not. I always ask the mechanic, to explain to me clearly what the problem is, how that affects the engine in my car. What are the safety ramifications if, I don't have, let's say, $900 to fix whatever it is laying around at the moment, does that really matter? And I just keep, and I have, I don't deal with people who give me any kind of static when I ask questions. So, I haven't had any problem with working with people at the auto shop because I just don't stop until I really, really understand what it is that they are telling me. So you need to take kind of a systems approach to technology as well. And if you're the kind of person who always has somebody else do minor home repairs, well, the next time they come over, kind of tag along and find out what it is that they're doing. Or before you even call anyone, Google it. You would not believe the videos, the helpful how-to videos there are out there for basic home repairs. My husband and I have sat and looked at lawn sprinkler valve repair videos. I can't tell you how many times, to figure out how to get the spray pattern on a blah, 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 to work right. And, we give it a shot ourselves. And then if it gets out of our control, then we call in the expert. But, I tell people if you are not comfortable with basic mechanical things around your car, maybe you should be. I'm not saying run off and change the oil yourself, although I did that once and I went through that whole process. And then I discovered that I did not enjoy oil changing enough to do it myself. Right. Well, I got it. I know how it works. I know how to change a tire on a car. I know how to check fluid levels. I know how to do, basic things, and I understand why they're important. And so I take the same approach to other mechanical things. If that sounds like too much, go up and take the lid off the toilet tank in your toilet. And that's your computer. All that water that you see in the toilet tank is basically the data that's flowing around in your computer. And so, push down on the handle and see and watch how the toilet operates. It's not that complicated. There's a little chain and there's a little flap and the chain in the handle pulls the chain and the chain lifts up the little handle and the little stopper lifts up and the water flows out and then some more flows in. Make yourself comfortable and familiar with the mechanics of how things work so that you have a sense of of how things flow, how data flows, and how things flow within a computer. And it makes it, to me, a little bit less intimidating when I take a systems approach or a more mechanical approach to things. I kind of scratch your head and say, gee, I wonder how that works and why it works that way, and get a basic understanding of it, not just for your computer, for anything. And it helps your confidence all around when something goes awry in your house or in your car. Instead of just throwing up your hands and taking it into somebody else, and you think, geez, let me take a look at this myself. And it helps your confidence a lot, I think.
That's a really great echo of something that one of our previous guests, Alyssa Ashwood, talked about. She started a new company, and she decided that there were a number of things that she didn't really know enough about. And she felt that she needed to learn, as she put it, just enough to be dangerous.
Yeah.
And I think what you're talking about is kind of exactly the same thing. You need to learn enough to be educated about, the thing that you're dealing with, but maybe not necessarily enough that you know how to, replace the CV boot on your axle.
Right.
But you know what the CV boot is, and you know what it does, and you know the safety ramifications of not replacing it. And that, whatever, $300, I don't know how much that costs now. I haven't had to do it in a while, but, is a reasonable price to do it.
Yeah.
And it's a great analogy to apply to the things that we really need to learn to be successful in the workplace, I think, as well.
Yeah, I am definitely a mile wide and an inch deep when it comes to a lot of stuff. And I know about when I need to. I was doing something with a client website the other day and was doing some search engine optimization things. And I don't do SEO, but again, I know just enough about it to be dangerous. And I wanted to see something on his homepage, and I remembered reading somewhere that I could see the code on the back end. And first I Googled it, how to see the code on and the results just weren't telling me what I needed to know. So then I thought, right click, I'm on a PC, right click seems to do all kinds of magical things. So I right clicked on the homepage of the website, and one of the things was page source. And I know from blogging and working in WordPress and other things that source is when I can see the HTML, the coding on the back end of a blog post. And I said, all right. And so I clicked page source, and boom, I was able to see all of the HTML right there on the back end of this person's website. And I could also see an area, there was one or two areas that I knew were very important, meta tags and titles and things. And I could see that this person had absolutely zero inserted into those sections. So I knew that the on-page search engine optimization was non-existent for his website. And so he didn't have a hard time getting found. Now, am I going to turn around and say, let me search engine optimize your website? No, at that point I would say, you need to be working with an optimization expert about how to do that. But I knew just enough to go in and say, you're toast. You better call someone who knows what the hell you're doing, because, that's important. But it took me a minute. I mean, I spend a lot of time, Googling and trying to figure out things for myself before I get to the point where I say, okay, I've now maxed out my level of knowledge here, and it's time to call in experts. But again, you have to just not panic, have confidence. And funny how you mentioned that when things disappear, that they really are there somewhere. I mean, how do you think they get all those records when they're snooping on people? They're
no kidding.
there. But when I found the edit undo function again on a PC, and when I'm writing a blog post, it automatically saves. But if I'm the least bit paranoid, I hit save myself to make sure that it's saving what I'm writing. But there's also, when I'm creating things, including, PowerPoint presentations or whatever, there's a little back undo button. And I can't tell you how many times I've said, edit, undo, stop. It's there, it's in there. And you just have to have the confidence to go in there and poke around and find it. But do know when you're getting to your limits, and it's time to spend the money to call in someone who really knows what they're doing. But then back to the auto mechanics. Whenever I start asking questions, they're actually kind of excited. The customer wants to know why. I mean, I'm never rude when I question. I just say, here's what I think the radiator ought to be doing at this point, and you're telling me so and so, and I don't get it. And they're happy to have a customer who cares enough to get in there and ask those questions. So don't be afraid to do so.
Yeah, that's a really great point. And that Control Z.
Mm-hmm.
I use the keyboard function of undo all the time. Control Z is your friend. And for those who don't know, it works in just about every single program out there.
Control Z, live Control
Z. Or if you're a Mac user, the little Apple symbol Z. But it's definitely your friend. So Sheila, we're coming to the end of our time here, and this has been a really great conversation. Is there anything else in particular you'd like to share with our audience about how technology has been important for you in your work, the work that you're doing today?
Yeah, I'm a co-founder of Tourism Currents, and we do social media training for tourism and hospitality organizations. And that is not at all what I thought I would be doing when I got out of the Navy in 2006. I actually started out as a travel writer, and then a friend of mine said, if you're going to be a writer, you need to have a blog. So I started a blog in early 2006 and discovered that I liked it very much. And then from the blog, ended up doing other things, and then started doing workshop in the social media stuff. And then one of your previous podcast guests, Becky McCrae, she and I got together. Actually, it was her idea. I thought it was a silly idea, and she smacked me around the head. And now that I saw the wisdom, but she says, let's talk about specifically what social media can do for tourism. And that was off we went. So it has been a series though of, I've never started a business. I grew up in a Navy family. I was career Navy for almost 23 years. Never been around entrepreneurship, never been around businesses, small, medium, or large. A large organization in the military. I can deal with bureaucracies. But it was all new to me. It was a constant learning curve. And I went to my first few technology conferences, and everyone was talking over my head. And I remember one time, the very first time I went to South by Southwest Interactive here in Austin, and the opening keynote made a joke about Python and Ruby on Rails, which are programming languages, but I didn't know that. And the whole audience was listening, and I'm like, I don't get it. Jewelry, snakes, what's so funny? But I went off and figured out what they were, and now I'm on the advisory board for Interactive. So, but I didn't start out this techno wizard. I was a liberal arts major, and my master's degree is from the Naval War College. So I can talk to you about, military strategy and tactics, but I had absolutely no education in all this entrepreneurial stuff and business stuff. And I wasn't intimidated by technology, but I knew nothing about how all these things worked until I had to get in there and figure it out for myself. So that's probably one. I just kept raising my hand and asking questions, and Googling, and not being afraid to get up when I'd blown something and try again. And that is an ageless thing, and that has nothing to do with whether you're male or female. So reach within to those characteristics that you have, and think about the fabulous opportunities that you have. In fact, I'm working on a book, The Elastic Waist Entrepreneur, because I wear elastic waist pants more often than I used to in my older age.
I'm wearing them right now too, so
there you go.
It's all good.
But it's focused on, kind of not so much a memoir, not my own story, but I'm going to write about what I now know, which is being a middle-aged woman and doing a tech-based, social media-based startup, essentially, in middle age when I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And so hopefully that'll provide some motivation. And I'm glad to have a chance to come on the podcast today, because I'm not writing the book nearly as rapidly as I need to be writing it. So this sort of thing helps motivate me.
Well, I'm glad that we can be a motivating force to get that wisdom out into the world. So thanks so much for joining me today, Sheila. It's really been a great conversation, and I loved having you as a guest.
Thank you.
Well, I hope we talk again soon.
That would be great. Appreciate the opportunity. Take care.
Take care. The Women Connected podcast was brought to you by TBW and the TBPW Foundation, underwriter of many of our training and leadership development programs. For more information about TBW membership and our upcoming program, please visit our website at tbwconnect.com. We hope you'll join us next time on Women